Good morning. Good morning. Java Delight will uplift you. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin. Grab your coffee. Stay tuned. This show is about to begin.
Well, surprise, surprise. Good morning, everybody. This is Brett from Businesses Are People Too, opening the Java Delight today. Brandon and Gavin will be coming on here shortly with the surprise. So just starting the show off to give them a little extra time to get prepared, and looking forward to seeing how everything turns out with me trying to run the controls. So looking forward to it. And I see Sherry's already out there. Stovetop Yum Yum. Fantastic. Looking forward to hopefully having an amazing show that brightens up everybody's morning. I know that life has been a challenge at times over these past few months. 15 months, 16 months, almost coming up on a year and a half. But there's a lot of good things that have come out of this as well. And I think that we need to focus sometimes, really actively focus on things outside of what we normally hear on the news. Being able to really look at the positive sides of some of the things that we've had with this lockdown and things like that. And I think that some of them are just, being able to better appreciate your family, the people around you, and have time to really move in directions that we probably wouldn't have had we not been in this pandemic situation. Even myself, I would think of things that were more in line with what the news was saying and stuff like that, and kind of getting lost in the general media's and politicians' view. But as I look back, I realize that I have had a chance to spend time with my family to get a better understanding of what it's like to be, I actually take care of my mom and dad. My dad's 85, my mom's 80. I actually, when my mom had a stroke and hip surgery, I made my house into something that was handicap accessible. And actually over the past couple of weeks, I finished up my backyard, which I had originally made so that there was a walking path and so forth, which in Vegas, a lot of times your backyards are nothing but desertscape and rock and not really usable. Well, I had pavers put in and a really nice design. I've got a koi pond in my backyard. I've got a lion fountain that I got free from one of my clients when I was doing real estate. And I also have a couple of Buddhas in the backyard. So it's kind of a real Zen and water feel in order to be able to take a desert and make it into an oasis. And I did a lot of that so that my mom, who doesn't get an opportunity to really get out of the house and away from the house too often, can go out in the backyard and really feel like she's got something to look at, and she can hear the waterfalls in the backyard. And those are all really nice things that I didn't really appreciate that much when I was running around doing everything that I was doing and commuting between Las Vegas and Los Angeles, which is where I did a lot of my work before. So it was really kind of nice to be able to see those things happen. And I just finished putting another about 6 tons of rock in my backyard to finish it out again. I had it set up once, and then, a lot of those landscaping lights, I don't know if you've ever used them, but they tend to go out over time, and eventually it doesn't look the way that it did when you first put it in. So now my backyard looks back to where it should be. Unfortunately, my dad decided it was time for him to go out there and actually trim some of the bushes that I have in the backyard. And he's 85 years old, and he kind of tripped over one of my new lights, and it looked like he had injured himself a little bit. But luckily, in the past 24 hours, partially because of a device that I was able to find him called the Healy, where it sends people healing or wellness frequencies to help to balance your body's energies. He was able to recover in just about a day and a half, and he's back to walking around. And my dad is pretty mobile, and he doesn't like to sit around and just do nothing. So I did have to tell him, though, Dad, you're 85 years old. I pay for landscapers. Let the landscapers do the work. You just enjoy the backyard, walk around, feed the fish, and enjoy it that way. So I think that everybody, we need to kind of look at those positive sides of things that actually we were able to accomplish and make some things happen. Yes. And thank you, Sherry. I created this new background. It's really interesting, these pictures and the tree of life behind me. Didn't expect to be able to, I had no idea I was going to get these. I went into a store called Raw Stress for Less here in Vegas, and they're around in a lot of places. And I just happened to walk in there, and I saw these pictures that just captured my eye. And I was like, great, now I can put in a background so that I don't always use my office background or something along those lines in the green screen, and can actually go live with what's really behind me now. And I think it says a lot. I love the elephant for a couple of reasons. One, elephants oftentimes are the things in the room that are creating some challenges, but nobody wants to talk about. So at least this one here, you can see the elephant in the room. We can always address the elephant in the room whenever we're on the show, or whenever I'm working with any of the people that I work with for leadership in life, teams, and business. And yesterday when we were talking with Jessica Dugas, Brandon was like, I thought elephants with their trunk down is like what do you say? It was not good luck. And Jessica immediately said, how do you know that the trunk is down? Maybe the trunk is holding the camera and shining back and taking the picture of the elephant. And I thought that was fantastic, because that to me is how we need to look at life oftentimes. We need to step back, kind of turn the camera on us, and Tokyo, I'll get to you in a little bit there. The elephant and looking back at ourselves is oftentimes the only way that we get an opportunity to really start to see the real picture. And often, because we create in our mind our own pictures of ourselves. We talk about and have self-talk which oftentimes is not the real picture of ourselves. And we need to turn that camera around and focus it on us and appreciate who we are and look at things as though we're outside of our body looking in to our life as opposed to inside of our body. Because sometimes, a lot of times, when you're inside the box, you can't see the box that's around you. So those are the types of things that I think that this picture represents. Then we've got the tree of life, which to me has always been something that appealed to me, and it's something that we need to focus on, and that, you know, life offers many different branches and many different ways that we can go, and the roots are deep into the ground while we see the beautiful part above. But guess what? Below the ground, there's a lot of beauty as well. And that's the same thing when we look at people. Oftentimes, we may see people in the winter of their day or their year, or sometimes, you know, a couple of years. And when I say winter, those are kind of the times when, you know, the leaves are off of the trees and people don't maybe shine as much as they could or do in the springtime. But you have to remember, you also have all this beauty down below you that is still alive throughout the winter and just waiting to come out and shine again. And that's when springtime comes around. And I think that we're starting to get through the whole winter of this COVID thing and starting to slowly see the buds on the trees of life coming back. And I know here in Vegas, we're getting more and more people that are coming into Vegas. Vegas, in fact, just had their first month of gaming that was over $1 billion, or not month, but quarter. And that's the first time that we've had that since before COVID. So I think those are good signs. And I just saw an article where the economy has kind of grown 6.4%. So granted, we lost a lot of the economic strength that we had when we shut down the economies and we shut down businesses. And there's a lot of businesses that are still very challenged because of that. And I think that there's still going to be a lot of businesses that may not come out of the winter that well, but there are new businesses that have propped up or come up, a lot of businesses that never existed before, a lot of opportunities that didn't exist before when we went to more of an internet-based business world. And that world is still going to be around us. It's going to be around us along with the brick and mortar and the in-person businesses that are going to be coming back. And as more and more of the economy opens and the restrictions of COVID come off, we're going to be able to see each other again. And hopefully we're not going to have the mask covering most of our face. Because I know for me, I love watching people. And that's the greatest thing about living here in Vegas, is you can walk the strip or go downtown and see people and really get an opportunity to look again at their eyes and at their emotions and at their face and how they interact. And to me, that's awesome. We have lost that for almost a year and a half. And that really affected me a lot more than I expected, because I lost my desire to go downtown or to do these things, because when I can only see a person from this high up, it's not as exciting for me. You don't get a chance to see the smile or even the frown or the look of excitement and astonishment as they're walking down Vegas Strip for the first time or discovering things that they hadn't seen before. And I think now is a time that we need to get out and really look at the world around us again and look at it with as though the sun is coming up. So I got my bright yellow Copenhagen shirt on, and just to kind of represent, life is coming back. The sun is out and about. And I see Tokyo Bento saying that he's just telling his little students that the mask is great for covering their missing teeth, their missing front teeth. Well, there you go. There's a benefit of wearing a mask that never really thought about until Tokyo brought that out. And then the last picture behind me over here was just something that popped. It was like, wow, this is a part of the world that I really haven't even seen. It represents more of Africa, and all three of them to me remind me of the Lion King. And I remember seeing the Lion King at the theater probably about 4 or 5 times. My girlfriend got pissed off at me one time because I said, this is a new version of the Lion King. We're going out to see the Lion King. We were down in Florida at that time at Disney World. But I was like, we got to go see this. It's on the IMAX screen. And she was like, okay, we'll go see it because you say it's a new one. And we get there and it's the exact same movie, but it was on the IMAX screen. So to me, it was like even bigger than life. And I think the Lion King story is awesome. It talks about life. It talks about challenges of life. It talks about sometimes you've got people in your life that aren't there necessarily to support you. And then you've got others that are around you that you get an opportunity to shine in front of. And when you do, you realize just how great your kingdom around you really can be. And this is something that we as individuals really need to focus on, is that the way that we present ourselves to those around us, it can only be to your son, to your daughter, to your wife, to your family, could be to your friends, to your spouse, to your business partners, or it could be to somebody you don't even know. But when you do present yourself with positive energy and you smile at people that aren't expecting you to smile, or you don't lash out at somebody because maybe they dropped a glass, and oftentimes when people drop a glass, the people around them either cheer, which I think is kind of goofy that you cheer when somebody drops the glass or drops the plates in the restaurant, or at home, sometimes you yell at the person because now you got a mess on the floor. Well, you know, if you respond differently, and it's like, hey, you know, life happens. Shit happens in life. And it's not like we did anything that's really destroying life. Yeah, it's a little inconvenient. We got to clean it up. We may have to keep the dog away from walking in that area where you just spilled the milk and broken glass. But you know what? In a few minutes, it's cleaned up and everything's back to normal. Enjoy those types of things and respond in a way that's more positive. And the people around you will also look at that as being maybe a difference or a reaction that they weren't expecting, and they're going to appreciate that more. And I think that, you know, a lot of that was displayed in The Lion King. And this is why I wanted this energy behind me, along with the other things that you may see in my background here, where I've got, you know, one of the greatest influences in my life is Tony Robbins. I've been through all of his trainings. I've been to his resort out in Fiji for part of the training that I went through. I was able to assist people to make breakthroughs at Tony Robbins events. And those are the types of things that I now bring to the people that I work with, the businesses and the teams that I work with, because the first team, as I always say, that you have to work with is me, myself, and I. So we focus on that aspect as well as how we interact with each other, how we build a business, and how we can grow together. And we, you know, the sum of the parts is greater than the parts themselves. Also behind me, you may see a singing bowl. You know, I actually had a chance to go to, just before COVID really hit, I had a trip of a lifetime. It was called the Journey of Lights. It was with a group of people with Genius University, which is another one of the tools that I use when I work with building teams. And we went to India, to Delhi. I saw the Taj Mahal. I got a chance to see a number of different things in India. Then we went to Nepal, which is absolutely amazing. You know, it's kind of at the base of Mount Everest, and got a chance to experience the cultures of Nepal. And then kind of the icing on the cake was getting an opportunity to go to Tibet and to go to the place where the Dalai Lamas have lived for centuries. Now, granted, the Dalai Lama isn't there today. The Dalai Lama actually is living in Nepal and India because the restrictions and challenges of what China is doing in terms of trying to gain control of Tibet and people's beliefs in the Dalai Lama and Buddhism and things along those lines. But I'll tell you, when I was there, it was amazing to be able to see this history that is in place. And one of these days, I guess I should share some of the pictures that I have of being there. And one of the greatest things that happened is we went to a smaller, non-commercial Buddhist temple, and the monks came in and they did a blessing for us. And I've had blessings done through, some of the more commercialized monasteries and so forth, but this one was really powerful because it wasn't one of the nicest ones that you've ever seen. It was one of the most traditional ones that I've ever been to, and it was absolutely amazing. And it was an unexpected part of the trip because one of the places we were supposed to go to was closed for some reason or something. So they filled it with this off the beaten path monastery. And it was one of the greatest experiences that I had in terms of really being able to firsthand experience the monks as they were chanting and actually doing a blessing for us. So, those are the types of things that we don't always get a chance to experience in real time in life. But you know what? Because of the internet, because of what now we have available to us via internet TV and via even channels like Amazon Prime and Netflix and YouTube and so forth, we can experience a lot of these things that we never could have experienced before in the humanity or in the span of humanity, because we always had to physically go there. And now we're able to do that through the internet. And sometimes I get a little bit too tied up in the internet watching those types of things, and I forget about the things that I actually need to do today. And I think that those are normal types of things that we can, we will experience in life, where we get caught up in something. We chase a squirrel for too long. We chase that rabbit down the rabbit hole, and the next thing you know, we're looking at Alice in Wonderland or something along those lines. So we need to pay attention to those types of things, but we need to appreciate what's available to us as well. And I don't know if you see it in the background here, but I do have sage and an abalone shell where I can burn sage, and sage has got sage has a cleansing effect in the house as well as being an antiseptic. So it's really kind of cool to be able to do that. My girlfriend actually is a medicine woman. She grew up in a Mexican family, but then learned over the course of time that a lot of her ancestral roots are into the indigenous tribes within the United States and Mexico. And with that, she was able to actually connect with a medicine man who then taught her the lessons of the indigenous people and how to use the medicine that she has available to her. And I think that that's just another amazing thing that we oftentimes don't know about. We don't know about what's really in our past or our history, and how that could really be something that we have deep within us because of the cell memory, of the DNA memory that is passed along through our children and our children's children. So as we start going back and find out more about our grandparents and great grandparents as much as we can find out more. I was lucky that I know that part of my family, half of my family, is from Sweden, and I had a chance to go back there and connect with some of my relatives there, and absolutely amazing people. I love it when I'm over there. Now, granted, I've only been in Sweden during the summertime, which is the best time to be going to Sweden and so forth. And their celebrations of spring and summer, because winter is so long there, they really do appreciate those things when the green comes out, when the rivers are flowing again, when the lakes you can go swimming in, even though I'll tell you that they are pretty cold in the summertime too. But it's a joy to be able to get out and actually learn more about our history and to appreciate it. And sometimes, we only remember our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents. We may remember things that are not so happy in our past or so forth. But you know what? Everything that we've done in life, everything that those before us have done to give us this life has things to appreciate. We just need to look at it and find them, and then to focus on those things to appreciate versus those things that we remember, and oftentimes remember because they were so emotional that they create a challenge for us. So this is part of what I want to kind of bring out. And I think Brandon and Gavin got a little bit stuck in traffic, so it's taken them a little bit longer. Tokyo, yes. Couple of questions that you had. One, does the Healy work with the what is it? The iPhone, iWatch, whatever they call it, the Apple Watch. It doesn't. It actually, the Healy has its own device, wearable device that is similar to that, which then can monitor your system and interact with the Healy as well. So, and Healy is continuing to develop those technologies so that more and more will be things that the Healy device can monitor and work with the Healy, as opposed to having it to interface with Apple or something like that, which, as you continue to hear more and more about with the Internet of Things, which I'm pretty familiar with from a logistics perspective, but more and more of life is being monitored, right? Where we go on the internet is monitored by whatever your host is, or the program that you're using to surf the net. You are being monitored by your Apple Watch. You're being monitored by the cameras that are out and about. And all of these are kind of connecting through the Internet of Things to different people. So what Healy has done is they wanted to kind of create something that was going to be more of its own ecosystem, rather than reaching into some other ecosystem which they may not have as much control over. Next thing, Tokyo, you asked a question about, are they religious in Sweden? Yeah, they are. They are more of Protestant religion, and my cousins are not really religious, but they know a lot about the history. In fact, a couple of my cousins have PhDs over there. One of them in the history, and he took us around when we were there, and we got to see these old Viking churches and Viking ships and things along those lines, which I thought was absolutely amazing. And when you have a historian that's able to kind of bring you into the real history behind it, not necessarily what you see written in the places, or you go into these churches where they've got pictures on the wall of all the different kings and so forth that were history in Sweden. It was pretty impressive, and those are in a lot of the churches. So yeah, they are religious, but they're not radical, or they're not extremely religious. I think that they follow the word in a more, if you want to call it, in my opinion, they follow the words of the Bible or whatever they're following in a more realistic manner, so that they're not looking at things only through the eyes of whoever's interpreting the book or the Bible or presenting it at work or at the church. How did the Healy help my dad? Okay, so the Healy, and I'll show you what the Healy looks like. I actually am a distributor of the Healy. This is the device. It's a very small device, but it does connect, and a lot of the technology that the Healy uses is computers that are accessed through the internet. So they're able to create a device like this. The creator of this device actually had a device before that was more like a desktop computer that was needed in order to generate these frequencies. And it could do more things, a little bit more things than what this does. But through this, I can actually analyze people's frequencies anywhere in the world. And I've done this for people that are on different sides of the country here. In fact, I was just doing it with a friend of mine who is down in San Diego, but I've done it to the East Coast, and I use it myself. It is good for both the physiological frequencies, your actual body frequencies, which, as you know, the body is made up of nothing but energy. In fact, the universe is nothing but energy. It's in different forms or in different states of the energy, but it is all in the energy of the universe. And that's what I really call upon as my belief, is the energy of the universe and the energy of people. I don't focus on any specific religion, but so it goes along very well with my beliefs. And I've got a science background. I was bio pre-med for 2.5 years when I was in college. And granted, that was back in the Stone Age. I was back in college in 1980 to 84. But it still is very useful to me today as I'm learning about things like the Healy, as I'm analyzing things about COVID and the information that they're feeding us about COVID and about the vaccines. But the Healy is able to work with your physiological energies as well as your psychological energies to help bring about balance. And that's what it's really doing. It can analyze, and I can analyze a person's current frequencies, and then the system will read those, identify what type of balancing frequencies and energies that you need, and then send them to you through the information field. It's an amazing technology. It's one that if you've ever heard of Nikola Tesla, Tesla said everything is energy, and it is energy. And the reason that I really resonate with it, and when we use terms like resonate, we're actually talking about frequencies. How does energy resonate with you? And if you realize that when you listen to music, like I use an example, if you've ever heard of The Sound of Silence, originally done by Simon and Garfunkel, but recently, over the past few years, it was redone by Disturbed. Well, if you listen to that song, which is the same words and kind of the same melody, but done in totally different energy, totally different intent, you are experiencing physically and psychologically a different impact of the exact same song, the exact same words, but because it's being presented to you in different frequencies, it actually affects you differently. And the difference between ice and water and steam are nothing but the energy behind the molecules there, or the slowing down the molecules to be ice, speeding up the molecules to be steam. But it's still water, right? It's all about the energy. It's all about the frequencies. Okay, got Brian out there. COVID info. Me personally, I've got a few videos out there. I have it out on YouTube under Coronavirus Facts and Fiction, or under my name. I think you can find it that way too. I never can remember how the easiest way is to find it. But I did some videos back in March of last year when I first read the report that kind of talked about how this virus was supposedly going to, wipe out millions and millions of people in the United States, much less the world. And then over the course of time, I continued to look at the reports. And so here's a little bit of my opinion of what is going on and why I believe this is the case. And it goes back into frequencies, and it goes back into beliefs. And a lot of the people that are doing this work, in fact, just last night I was watching how they make, or the process that they use to make, like the Pfizer version of the vaccine, and the technology that they're using and the process that they're using all makes sense. I mean, I think that what they're doing from a chemistry perspective is really pretty cool. Do I believe that, and the people that are doing it, most of them truly do believe in what they're doing and believe that what they're doing is the best for people. My personal opinion is the best way to fight viruses in most cases is through our immune system, and to continue to manage and to improve our immune system. And that is what I have been focusing on, and making sure that I have vitamin D, because for the most part, all of us are vitamin D deficient, especially when we're in more of the cooler climates of the world, which most of the United States is. Then we spend most of our time inside instead of outside, because your body can actually synthesize vitamin D when you're out in the sun, but we tend not to be out in the sun. And even when we are out in the sun, oftentimes when we put the sunscreen on, which I'm not saying is bad, it does help. It does detract from being able to synthesize vitamin D. So we do need to augment our body with vitamin D. Looks like our guests may have finally shown up.
Yes. Hello.
Hi, guys.
How are things going, gentlemen? And why don't you give us a little bit of a history of what you just went through for the past half hour, 45 minutes?
Oh my God. Where do we even start? It's been, guys, I want to let everybody know right off the bat, Gavin and I are in somewhere special right now. We are in Margaritaville. I don't know if anybody ever knows what that is. Margaritaville is literally Jimmy Buffett. He owns these, and he does bars and drinking and all this other stuff. But it's meant to be a whole Hawaiian getaway, 5 o'clock somewhere type of theme. And I brought Gavin down here because guess what, guys? Today, the Cleveland is in the national news, and we are having the NFL draft. Now, I know a lot of the world doesn't care about the NFL like the United States does, but guess what? This is a huge event, and the fact that the city got it is absolutely a huge deal. And guess what Gavin and I are doing? We are at the NFL draft right now. We are set up at Margaritaville. We were talking to the owner of, or the GM, and when we got here, it's just been one thing after another. Gavin has had a rough morning himself.
I have, yeah.
It's been one of those where Everybody here has been excited and ready. And guess what, guys? There's going to be a ton of football players running around. There's going to be a ton of professional athletes running around. We are doing our morning show to have a good time with you guys at one of the epicenters of what's happening around the city and around the world right now, because we wanted to bring you guys some positivity with a really good idea of professionalism. How are you, Brett? Sorry, it took us a minute to get set up.
Hey, I'm doing well. I was just kind of going through, what was going on in my background here now and the energy, and that ended up talking about more of what's going on with the Healy and how the Healy helped my dad and when he just injured his leg a little bit, but really talking about the frequencies of life and so forth, and to appreciate the fact that we're kind of coming out of the winter of the pandemic, and the buds of the trees, if you want to look at it that way, are starting to come out, and these opportunities like where you're at right now, live with people, is an indication that we're really starting to move from winter of the pandemic more into the spring. And the spring is going to take a little while, and the spring is still going to have the masks and so forth. And I got to show you my mask. This is really my belief, and people may not go along with it, all of them, but it says
the mask is useless as my governor. That's funny. That's funny.
So this
actually,
is what I wear when I go out and have to wear this stupid mask. But the fact that we can actually get out into events like you're at right now, and that Vegas is getting more and more people to come in and be around, I think is an indication that we are starting to turn the corner. And granted, you never know when they may try to backtrack on some of this stuff, but I think that right now there's a movement around the world, including even in India, where this whole thing about locking down is not what the world needs. The world needs to be around people. People need to be around people. And as we get back into doing things that are actually good for our immune system, which is doing those positive things in life, being around people in life, seeing life in motion as opposed to in the four walls of your house, is going to improve your natural immunity. And that's what's going to really overcome this challenge that we have with the virus that, guess what? We've experienced viruses for our life. The humanity, the life of humanity has experienced viruses, and it's really about doing those natural things that our body is fully capable of doing, as long as we feed our body the right things, both mentally and physically. So the food we eat, the things that we see, the things that we think about dramatically impact the frequencies within our body, and that impacts our immune system. And our immune system is our best lover. It loves our body. It loves us. We need to love it back, and it will do more for us. So, Gavin, what the heck are you doing there? Are you going to be there all day? What's really going on?
Absolutely. First off, really quick, I will not be drinking during the day. I'm working all day, so no drinking for me. I will be eating plenty of food, though. One thing that I do want to point out really quick, with everything that you just said there, I do think that one actually positive thing, there was a plethora of negative things that came with the lockdowns. One of the positive things that I believe did come with the lockdowns was that it brought attention to mental health and mental illnesses a lot more.
I agree.
than was before, just because there were so many people of all it took everybody, no matter what your political status was, no matter how much wealth you had, how much money you had, it brought us all to the same level. It made everybody had to sort of face our own demons and really humble us in a sense. So I think that was probably one of the only positive things. But moving on from COVID and everything, here I'm spending the day with Brandon. My fiance is here, Crystal. She went across the street to MGK's 27 Club to go get some. Do you know
who MGK is?
Nope.
It's Machine Gun Kelly.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Machine Gun Kelly.
It's Machine Gun Kelly. Machine Gun Kelly.
Did date him for a while or something?
What was it?
Yes.
Did Sandra Bullock date him?
Megan Fox.
He's with Megan
Oh,
Fox.
Megan Fox. That's right.
I will. We'll say hi to them, buddy. And Tokyo Beno, I am so sorry. Tell your wife that we're really sorry for her loss. That does suck. Like knowing people that are dying from it really does suck. I mean, knowing anybody that passes away sucks. And then I see Brian Tracy. He's giving us instructions on who we need to be looking for. A lot of teams have hard times. So here's the thing. You're in Cleveland. All right, and we're going to run through this really quick as a Browns person. I'm fixing the camera so Gavin looks handsomer. We are Browns fans, and I don't know if people know exactly what that means. It means they took our team, and we were the city that was crazy enough to fight for the colors and the logo, and that's it. And our logo is a helmet. But what makes it fun is we've had 25 years of nothing but complete crap. And this is the first time we're not drafting in the top 10 in 20 years. This is the first time we're not drafting and having to trade to make sure we get a piece that we're missing. This is the first time we're drafting for a future. So the city is on fire. It is ready to do some big things. This city has an amazing energy to it today. We will be here early tomorrow and be able to do the show here tomorrow as well, but we're going to be in front of a big blow up. And Gavin's job today is to run around. Huh?
Did you say you're going to be in front of a blow up doll?
Yep, a big one, a big sex toy blow up doll.
Oh, okay.
She's about 25 feet.
I actually do have that at my house.
A 25-foot blow up doll?
I don't know if she's that big, but she's pretty enormous. No, seriously. It was supposed to be a Christmas joke present. It's the 400-pound woman. I also have the mighty midget.
I have no rebuttal. I have literally no rebuttal to this.
Spencer's, 2-for-1 deal.
That is absolutely priceless. So we might need to bring those, but I'm going to let John know before I do.
Okay, we can bring them tomorrow.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, today's going to be fun. Gavin's job is to walk around with Crystal and get NFL players to hit on Crystal and then start becoming sponsors of Delight.
Yes. That's exactly what the plan is.
Yep.
We're going to have him hit on Crystal. If it gets too intense, that's why I'm there.
Yep.
I'm going to put him in their place. Be all like, hey, big guy.
Big guy.
Yeah.
Hey, future NFL first-round pick. Sit down.
Yeah. Take it easy, man.
Oh, I see you, Tokyo. I will go look right now. That way I don't forget because I know how much of a pain in the ass I am.
But no, in all honesty, I'm not exactly sure what exactly we are doing here other than representing and networking. So I'm
we are
kind of
I'm
at the mercy of the hands of Brandon right now.
Nobody knows what's going to happen. I love it. So what's going on is the NFL draft is today. There are private parties all around where Gavin and I are. There are areas the NFL has deemed for representation of like the city, for other teams, for events. And Gavin and I are literally in the center of it all, going to be doing our show. I have a 25-foot blow-up screen that is going to be going up. We are going to be having a good time and attracting people to come into the bars and getting to eat and drink and play all day.
Yeah. And my goal is to beat a NFL player in a game of strength called the poking game. Oh, I'm gonna win.
What is it? The what game?
I don't have a name for it, so I just call it the poking game. So what it is? So here, stand up and face the camera.
Apparently, I'm about to get poked.
Yeah. So what you do is you stand at each other like this. You have to try to poke any part of my body with your finger, and I have to try to poke any part of your body. We have to continue. We have to keep on holding.
Are you guys ready
our
for
hands
this?
Here. We can't you can't go like that or anything or let go and stuff. You have to keep.
This is a new game. You're making this up.
No, I learned this when I was in Belize.
Well, all right, hold on. Go like this. That way neither of us can cheat. All right, guys, you ready?
Yeah.
Go. Oh. I'm throwing Gavin around here. Oh my gosh.
That's all it is, because it doesn't actually count as a strength. Your strength doesn't matter, because what you're doing
is body mass.
No, it's not. It's not even that. It doesn't matter.
Leverage.
What I did to poke you, it's leverage and it's pivoting. So while he's pushing here, I just turn my arm and all of his weight goes straight down, and then I'm able to poke him in the leg. So I'm gonna go mess up some NFL players today.
I think that's the plan.
Yeah.
I love that plan.
And I have an undershirt on under this too. I'm gonna like take off my scarf. I'm gonna be like getting ready and stuff.
Is I see Gavin not knowing who he's dealing with, and he gets like the guy who's going to be the #1 draft pick, and Gavin's over there trying to poke him, and the guy twists wrong and breaks his thumb, and then guess what happens?
That would suck.
I'm sorry, guys.
Ruin somebody's career.
You literally, no, he wouldn't ruin his career. He'd go get surgery like that. They wouldn't announce he broke his thumb until tomorrow.
Yeah,
like for real, because nobody would want to. Oh, we have a new one. Pink elephants. I love it. I love it. Welcome. We love it. So, Gavin or Brett, did you tell everybody about who our guest is today?
No, I did not.
Oh, let me have some fun with this. You ready?
Yeah.
I am a holistic nutritionist and certified professional cancer coach. Big deal there, cancer coach. She received her bachelor's degree from the University of Toronto from St. Michael's College, majoring in psychology. She is a graduate of the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition and received a cancer coaching certificate from the National Association of Professional Cancer Coaches. I have no idea what that would be, and I'm excited to ask because how do you get a job being a cancer coach? Like, is it like keeping people?
I think it's teaching them how to like cope with it, how to try to prevent it from getting worse, and then also if you have like specific treatments that you need to do to help it maybe even get better. But it's probably mostly like it's probably mostly like grief kind of thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm gonna do this so I can hear you better.
Okay.
Now we make one head, so we go like this and we share it.
And it's mold in that.
So, and it's what?
And it's mold in that.
And there's mold.
No,
I'm not even going to go there. My education, along with my personal journey. Mo.
For show.
Bro. For show, Mo, bro.
Yeah.
But we need Snoop
Down
Dogg.
low, pro
I'm not
pro
Snoop
show.
Dogg, guys. My education, along with my personal journey through the cancer diagnosis, has given me her profound understanding of how virtually important proper nutrition, lifestyle, and achieving optimum health is. Improving health in cancer patients is crucial for the protocol success, yet is very often not addressed. Cathy, I look forward to meeting you today because this is a heavy topic. And she's already in the background. I love it. I didn't even know she was back there. Hello, Cathy. And so what I'll do is I'm going to actually put her link here, paste. Oh, Mo, I see what you're saying, Mo, too now. I was reading her bio, and now, hi, Mo. Mo Herzog is Mike Herzog's wife, and they are driving across the United States right now and taking their honeymoon. So, guys, I'm sending them nothing but love, positivity, and good vibes. Gavin, I'm going to scoot to the side so you can do the mouse. And let's bring Cathy in and get to know, because a lot of people have been dealing with like a lot of issues and a lot of problems in life. And this is a very heavy topic. And I know this is one that we're going to learn a lot from, and I am very interested. So, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Cathy Biase.
Hello. How you doing, Cathy?
Good. How are you doing?
We did that synchronized too.
I know.
That sounded like we were in a band. We were like, hello.
There was some harmonization going there.
I gotta say, I love your projections about what a cancer coach is. Interesting.
I'm intrigued. Like, this was something that when we read the bio beforehand, Gavin and I were looking at it going, I have no idea what a cancer coach does. Like, is this going to be more about the healthy eating? Is it going to be about like mental health and encouragement? There's so many things that went through our head. Tell us about how you got this job and how you ended up getting into this career.
So you prepared yourself for a real downer of an interview, I guess, eh? Very heavy topic.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not. I'm
Well,
gonna make this fun.
Let's
His
turn it
projection was
around.
more positive than mine. I was
Okay.
assuming that you were preparing people how to die.
Oh
Like,
my
I thought you were
goodness.
talking to people like,
Oh
no,
no.
like
needed a hug.
I
It's
think
very
that's an important
relevant.
job.
But it's very relevant that you have that angle, because I think a lot
Yeah.
of people don't know. Are you guys based in the States or Canada?
So
States.
we are
We're in
actually
the
based in the
States.
States. We
And
are
you
in
guys-
Cleveland, Ohio.
In Cleveland. Well, you guys are farther ahead actually with the idea of integrative care and cancer care, integrative cancer care, than we are in Canada. I think you have more of a presence of cancer coaches in the United States. But cancer coaches come from all different backgrounds. So they could be doctors, they could be psychologists, psychiatrists, nurses, anybody who wants to forward their professional life within the cancer space. So with that, each cancer coach sort of carves out their own laneway. So you can't just generically go pick a cancer coach. So what I do, obviously my background is in nutrition, my lane is cultivating health. So cultivating the health of cancer patients that may be preparing for treatment, are currently in treatment, or have come through treatment and are looking for the stepping stone into prevention. So very positive stuff. Very positive stuff. Now, I'm sure there are cancer coaches that, actually, I interviewed a death doula who is more in line with preparing people for transitioning. But I was a cancer patient myself 10 years ago. And so when I was figuring out what I wanted to do in the space, I knew exactly what I didn't want to do more than what I did want to do. So that's how it kind of developed. Some cancer coaches will go with their clients or patients to visits, to be an advocate, all sorts of different things. I know I didn't want to. I had spent quite enough time in a hospital. So I knew when I was wanted to become a cancer coach, that was a piece I didn't want to take on. But I've really developed this unique thought process and program and a way of working with clients that helps them to take a piece of control of their cancer protocol. So I don't know if you've ever had anybody or known anybody that's gone through the allopathic or medical system, but what happens is you're diagnosed, you go into the system, you run through tests, you're given a protocol, and underlying all that is a profound amount of stress. So you feel like you're losing control, you're stressed, it's usually a new space for people. And so what I do is I give people tools to cultivate their health. And what that does is that wherever they are in their cancer journey, things will be a little bit better because their health is better. And that's a piece that we're not really looking at right now in the whole cancer space. So that's my lane. That's a more positive lane. And yeah, so ask me other questions.
Actually, my sister just went through the process of the double mastectomy.
Yep.
And had lymph nodes taken out, and she had all this done by Mayo Clinic down in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just talking with her this past weekend, and she was talking to me about her cancer coach.
Oh, good.
And my sister is using I think it's called a PFM, pulse frequency modulation machine, as well as a Healy, to do things to help to balance frequencies in the bodies and so forth, and go about things from a more naturalistic perspective. Because one of the other things that she was just diagnosed with is that, they said she was going to need to go on Synthroid for her thyroid. Because, sometimes the chemo creates problems. But then she was using her PFM and the Healy, and she went back to the doctor, and the doctor's like, no, everything's fine now. Yeah, we still see these I forgot what kind of
the antigens, the antibodies.
Antigens that are in the body, but we're not going to need to put you on any kind of Synthroid or anything like that now. And he's like, I don't know what you've been doing, but you're doing well. And I think this is exactly what you were kind of alluding to when you said, the whole allopathic path versus a more holistic or naturalistic or functional path.
Yeah, and there's definitely an integration point. Like I'm not a cancer coach who's like everything needs to be natural. I went through the system. I incorporated both. And so I have that personal piece. I have a very similar path to your sister. And for me, I think, this is going to be really an organic conversation because we're locked down in COVID and I'm stuck in a corner here. So you're going to hear my dogs and everything. And every cancer coach has their own specialty. And one of the things that cancer coaches should try and do, or do try and do, is have a Rolodex. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but people to refer out to, because you can't be specialized in all areas. And there's no question, like things like energy and frequency. These were like 20 years ago, these were like wacko left side sort of ideas. Now, physiologically and in the science space, we're seeing how important our energy is. And this is just not something that you go to, you sit in a quiet room and meditate on. This is real, this is physiological, this is science now. And integrative care, if nothing else, has sort of brought forward and pushed into the mainstream the idea is that all of these different areas can be beneficial. And for your sister, she's found something along her path that's been great for her. And there are many paths, right, to health. And along those paths, it may not be all at the same time. Another 2 years down the road, she may find something else that really resonates with her. And this is the beauty of integrating your care. And we all, as we get older, as we age, as things change, we always need to be regrouping, stepping back, thinking about things. And that's just the way life is. But for me, when you have a sense of control, when you're going through this cancer journey, it gives you a little bit more, it relieves some of the stress. It gives you a little bit more hope, and it gives you a lot more control. And that really goes to the mindset. And the mind leads everything else.
Exactly. So do you have a specific kind of cancer that you're studying then, or is it just in general when you're going about this?
So I started when I graduated, it was a meeting of myself with an integrative oncologist because my brother-in-law was going through melanoma cancer. We lost him very quickly, but the one positive thing from his death was that I met this doctor, and I've been working with him, and he's a science-based doctor, naturopath, and he brings in and I've just learned so much from him. But as I said, I'm working with the health. So I don't need to be, obviously I get more, well, I should say, obviously I've dealt with babies right up to seniors, all different types of cancer. And I do research the cancers as I'm going through them. But again, when I'm focusing on the health, there's a recurrent pattern that I can continually try to implement, talking about nutrition, talking about sleep and exercise, circadian rhythm. The microbiome is the focus of my practice. So cultivating a healthy microbiome. And those are all in our grasp. Like those are things that we impact. Every choice we make during the day impacts our health. So I don't need to specialize. If I was going to say I specialize in one area, I know a lot about breast cancer from having it, and because so many women come through our clinic and through me that have it.
Absolutely. I think that, actually, I don't think you caught part of what I was talking about before you came on, but it was about frequencies. It was about the immune system. It was about building those aspects and finding a coach that aligns with your beliefs and that can take you along a journey and maybe further down a path or move you in a path. But the key is to find a coach that you can align with first. Because as you mentioned, if you go with a coach or a doctor or whatever that is outside of kind of where your beliefs are in a direction, you can actually add more stress to your life.
100%. And that's really true. It's like a good hairdresser, right? You find one, you resonate with them, and you know, when you're part of it's a different arena in health, because when you're accepted, and it's a sacred ground for me, because when you're accepted into the team of someone who's going through cancer, there's a people may not be in a place right now for nutrition. Maybe what they want is energy. One is not better than the other. It's just where you are at.
Exactly.
Absolutely. brings a question to my mind then. Is there ever like a specific stage where you won't work with somebody? Maybe they're way too early or way too late, or they don't have it yet and they just are trying to be precautious? Or will you work with somebody who cancer runs in the family, but they don't necessarily have it yet, but they're trying to be preventful for it?
Oh, through the piece. I mean, if I could get people on the prevention path, that would be the goal, right? My lifelong goal is to have people understand, let's prevent cancer. People don't want to think about that, nor really should you, right? I mean, you don't want to wake up in the morning worrying about getting cancer. That's not where I want people to be. But understanding how health can in general, and taking good care of yourself can in general prevent all diseases, cancer being one of them. I'd love people to start thinking that way. I'd love for us, when we hear a diagnosis of cancer, not to go right to the mortality piece, because that adds stress. I would love, when you think of someone going through cancer, you don't think of somebody who's bald with a scarf on their head hooked up to an IV. You know, people are surviving cancer and living long, long lives, but we don't see that enough. And so
I feel like it's not shown enough.
It's not. And survivorship is one of the most underserved areas in cancer care. Survivorship and those who are supporting cancer people. When patients get through cancer treatment, and this is where I like to catch them as well, there's that space. And they don't know what to do with sometimes because it's a trauma, right? And so you get to the end of your treatment and it's like, we'll see you in 6 months for a follow-up. And a lot of people are like, well, what do I do now? You've been taking care of me for, at least a year. And how do I take care of me? And that's a scary place.
It's a culture shock almost. It's like somebody graduating high school and then going straight into the military and doing that for years and years and then coming back and they gotta have to like Brett, I'm sure, I wonder, did you experience some of that? Because I know you served when you came back for a bit. It was kind of like, all right, I have to be a civilian again. It's kind of an adjustment that you got to make.
Well, it really is. I mean, there's a lot of things that really tie in here. And granted, I was eight years active duty. I was in the Air Force. I thought that was going to be the more corporate of the services and that the transition back to civilian life was going to be simple. And I'll tell you, it took me a good nine months to a year to really kind of get back into what it's like to be a civilian and the energy around the civilian world. Just like, I think that there's a lot of parallels between Cathy, what you do, and with cancer, and the same kind of concepts being applied to COVID. And,
yes.
And this is where I think that it's a completely underserved market, as you, I think, alluded to, and there's a gap in being able to make these transitions to go from the allopathic approach to the follow-on, which is a lifestyle change and things along those lines, which are going to continue to move in that cancer-free environment to go from a mindset of, I'm afraid of getting it again. I'm afraid of getting it again. And when you think that way, your chances of getting it again are stronger than if you're looking at how can I empower myself to grow and thrive in life, as opposed to think about what the past was.
Exactly. And, as a cancer patient coming through it, and again, I've been through it, you don't have to put the onus on going back to where life was before. It can be. I think you need to walk through it. I think you need to look back and face that you've been through a trauma. And that there is the piece that I want to get at. Because when you go through cancer treatment, you have the trauma of the diagnosis at the beginning. And then for a lot of people, it's head down and do what you need to do for a year and a half. And all of a sudden the head comes up. And you have to understand that the space after treatment is a healing place. And you need somebody there to help you get through it. And you also need to accept that you have been through trauma and let yourself work through trauma. And you have to have realistic beliefs. You can't think that after you finish cancer, things are just going to go back right away until you deal with these things. Anybody who's been through cancer, I shouldn't say anybody, I can't blanket. A lot of people who go through cancer are always going to be afraid. I'm afraid. Certain triggers, when I work with people that have been in remission for 10 years and all of a sudden there's a recurrence, sometimes I need to step back and take a breath, right? Like, okay, because that's getting a little bit closer to the nerve edge for me.
Right.
But this is always something that everybody has something in life they have to deal with, whether you haven't had, you've had it already, or you're going to deal with something, whether it's a disease, whether it's any type of trauma. And it's how we move through those steps. And that's what I was talking about earlier. There's going to be moving forward, regrouping, moving forward again, and regrouping. And it's a really, really, really important piece of cancer care that I'm not quite sure how to get at 100%. I've done webinars on it, and just trying to get people to understand this may be the place where you need to talk to somebody, that you need to recognize. But it will, after a diagnosis, it will always be close to the skin. You're always going to be worried. And a little bit of the worry too is that when you go back to your GP, I was talking to someone yesterday, she had a headache. Well, she just finished treatment. So now she's had a couple of headaches over the last few days. She's not just being told, okay, we'll just go for a massage, come in and let's do some scans. And that is, you're always going to be treated. It's a good thing. It ultimately is a good thing, but it is also a stressor. And these things are so important to get at with people. And it's also important that people understand that this isn't the story of their life. This is a chapter in their life. This is now weaved into the fabric of their life. And it takes some time to get that perspective.
Exactly. I was working, actually, I was at a workshop where we were doing things around energy and business and things like that. And one of the people that I talked to, she had just come through almost being poisoned to death by insecticides that were used in her office and so forth. And it created actually some brain damage along the way. And she was like, I'm a survivor of this. And I said, no, actually right now you are thriving because of this, because she actually changed from being in the field that she was in, which was taking care of animals and so forth, to now moving toward the spirituality of people. And that transition probably would not have occurred had she not experienced this. And it's really about changing our perceptions of the events of life. And like you said, it's a chapter of life. It's not your whole life. Yeah. And that's the key, I think, to really being able to turn the corner on where your beliefs are and make them empowering for your life.
Yep. 100%. And the spirituality piece is another area. So we got mindset, we've got mental health. That's really, really taking a lot of center stage in healthcare now, which is brilliant. And this idea of spirituality, whatever platform it's on, whatever you believe in outside, spirituality, you hear it every once in a while talked about. And now, because people are starting to talk about it, it's also becoming a piece of healthcare.
I do have a question from one of the audience members here. What would you advise to us that are so fearful of situations, cancer or COVID? I feel the stress of those thoughts does not help.
Oh, the stress is overwhelming, and I don't know where the person is living. You have to take it one day at a time. You have to continually regroup. We're in Ontario. We've been basically in lockdown for a year now, and it's so hard to wrestle with what you feel is real, what you feel is not real, what you feel is overdone, and the fear that this caused is almost to help put us in line. There's relevance to that too. I don't know how each and every person comes through COVID, because I've never been through COVID, and I've had my ups and downs, and I wrestle myself with what I believe, what I don't believe, what I'm going to do moving forward. And I honestly think that talking about it and having a group and getting into a space where you can honestly feel comfortable and talk about these things is very, very important. COVID in and of itself is something that is new to everybody. And I think that only time will tell. History is going to tell, other than the deaths and the illness, how much of a part the mental health of not being able to work, of being afraid of the disease, of income impact, that's all going to be a story that's still written. I can't tell you how to deal with your own fears because I don't know what they are. It's kind of a broad question. When you're coming to cancer care, again, the more you learn, the more you understand, the more you empower yourself, the more fear starts to level off. The more you believe in the protocol that you have taken upon for yourself. So you go to the medical space, you talk to your doctor, you talk about the protocol. And I see a lot of people who want to get into integrative care or bring somebody else on board. They'll come and say to me, I just don't know. I don't know. Is chemotherapy so poisonous? And right there is stop. You know what? This is your protocol. If you don't believe in what you are doing for yourself, then we need to back up and reinvestigate that, because you need to have full faith in everybody that's a piece here. And, you know, as again, I went through both systems. I went through allopathic and integrative care. The body can heal. And again, if we're preparing you for treatment, if you're healthy going in, you're really stacking the odds in your favor. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you, and I can never go against the medical system when it comes to the medical side of it. I only know what I've seen works, and I only know that integrating care just has helped so many people. When you're going through treatment, all the objective is, when I'm working with someone, is to get you through treatment. That's all I want to do at that point. You know, these are stages we're going through. And I think dealing with the fear is empowering yourself to take hold of one aspect of your protocol. I think that's a very key step in mitigating fear, and believing in what has been laid out for you as your protocol. Don't second guess unless you are very uncertain that that's not the right place you want to be.
And that's something that, like my sister, she was a JAG in the Navy. She's a lawyer in the Navy, so she's got, you know, and she was actually a lawyer in the Navy in the medical arena and environmental arena. But when she was going through her cancer stuff, she did a lot of research on it and so forth, and she challenged the doctors on the protocols that she was they were talking about, and she selected certain protocols versus other protocols. Now, the one thing that she did say is that is so hard because so many people don't have the background or the just know how to research and be confident in comfortable with whatever decisions are being made. And I think that's part of where a cancer coach comes in, if I'm not mistaken, is to help people better understand what the doctors are telling you, so that you can better make an informed decision on the way you want to be treated or the protocols that you want to have, because you can understand them better of what they're actually offering you.
Well, the other thing too, I should add to fear of COVID, to fear of cancer, is the internet can be an awfully scary place.
Yes.
And you have to be very careful on who you believe and how one type of bullet diet can cure should never be talked about in the space when we're talking about integrative care. I don't believe. You know, integrative practitioners are, and you know, some people will disagree with me for sure, but staying away from the internet, because unless you're looking at research, unless you're asking the right question. But I Googled what the survival rate is of my cancer. I Googled what to eat. I Googled, that just puts you in, it can put you in a real negative headspace. And, you know, you've got to be careful. When people come to me, I usually, you know, I would say the bulk of my clientele aren't people that, you know, go to McDonald's and need help what to eat. You know, they're not junk food eaters and need help what to eat. Most of the people I deal with are pretty solid on, you know, they know what they should be eating. They've done a lot of pre-research on food. And sometimes I find that I've got to pull them back a bit. Because at that point, when I've got someone saying, you know, I'm measuring out everything I'm eating, I'm doing this, and I'll say to them, so how much stress is that on your life? So is this where you want to be here? Let's kind of take a step back and look at what you're eating in the scope of everything else. And let's understand that even if your diet is pristine, if your level of stress isn't managed properly, if your gut isn't in good shape, if you're not sleeping well and exercising well, you're not going to absorb as well. So let's take a step back here and look at food, not just as another piece of your protocol, but as a part of an integrative aspect of health. We also want, sometimes it's just nice to come home after a treatment or after, a tough day as a cancer patient and sit down and eat with your family. And maybe eating a good meal around a table is far better than weighing out the carbs, fats, and proteins for your meal. And I think, because nutrition, I think, is the piece that people think they have the first hand at grabbing. It's what they hold on to very, very strongly. And I think we kind of need to broaden that a little bit, because you don't want your nutrition to be another piece of your stress matrix, right? You want to know what to eat. You want to know what's composing a good plate for you, but you also want to treat it as a place where you can relax and enjoy your food. Because again, if you're eating stressed, you're not absorbing. You're in the sympathetic nervous system versus the parasympathetic nervous system. There's so many aspects of it. And that's why it's so very individualized. Because I have seen some people so frightened about what they're eating. And that's just, I don't want that.
So some of the things, and I think that in general is a really important thing that has been kind of lacking, at least in American culture, is that a lot of us no longer sit down with our families and eat dinner together. I think that's a very important thing that people need to start practicing again. One of the things that you mentioned earlier was your gut biome. Would you go into a bit more detail on what exactly that is, how it affects the human body, and how we're able to take care of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have microbiome all over our body, on our skin, in our mouth, everywhere. And we're learning more and more and more about it every single day. The one thing that we do know is that it impacts health profoundly. They're researching now in the area of cancer care, lots of research going on in the microbiome as far as medication, how well medication works, how the makeup of the microbiome can impact, as I said, how medication works, the timing of medication. And basically, the microbiome, the gut, in our gut and all over, viruses, bacteria, protozoa, yeast, there are all these little critters that we now understand work intimately with us, the host. And honestly, they may be more important. We may just be the house that they're living in. So we're the house, and we need to make sure that our guests are in good shape, because the microbiome impacts every aspect of health, from mental health, because of the connection between the gut and the brain, which is now, this is now solidly proven. The vagus nerve, the gut, the brain. The gut microbiome houses so much of your immune system. It is in contact and interacts with the mitochondria. It produces vitamins. It produces short chain fatty acids that nourish the intestinal tract. Helps mitigate inflammation. So it's the centerpiece of our health. And we need to cultivate that health. It's so important for detoxification. So if we're talking about a woman with estrogen positive breast cancer, the liver may, all the detoxification system through the liver might be fine. But if the balance of the microbiome is not favorable, as estrogen is trying to be metabolized, things can happen there, and it's not, and then estrogen can recirculate into the system. So just every aspect of health, the microbiome is profound at. And more research is coming in and understanding and different strains and so forth. But where we stand now, the health of the microbiome is in our hands and remains the impact zone of what we choose to do in our health space every day.
So I have a two-part question. One is, with families, how can they actually show support, be there and understanding to help? Because of it being such a traumatizing experience, family members might not know how to respond to something like this. What would be advice for that? And then because I created my own line of CBD/marijuana products, what are your thoughts about marijuana as cancer treatment? And I know everybody was waiting for me to ask that question for the companies that I own, but like, I'm curious about your perception on both of those for helping families and what you've seen to the research and that's coming out with CBD and cancer research.
Okay, so we'll start with the family, the support system. And again, I'll talk from my own space. I was very surprised who came to the table, who came into my group when I got cancer, as much as I was surprised at those who didn't. So that's one thing that I like to tell people about, because you can't be upset by people who can't come along with you. They may come back after. They may just not be there. They may not be able to support. It may not be a comfortable place for them. And you as a cancer patient, even though you're dealing with, everything you're going through, you do have to give people their space to come in when they feel comfortable. Otherwise, all they're going to be doing is adding, energy perhaps that you don't want. And some people can't be there through the process, and you have to give them that space. And I learned that. Communication is key. So if I'm talking to a cancer patient as they're preparing, say, for treatment, one of the first things I'll say is you may not be used to asking for help. You need to ask for help. This is part of designing this integrative protocol for you, because we need to off some of those jobs so that we can focus on you right now. This is the time for cancer patients to focus on themselves. And as a support person, you're going to have to be there just to see where you fit in. And everybody will fit in differently. Just within the microcosm of my own family, I have 4 kids and my husband. Each child reacted differently. One of the kids wanted to be there for everything. I knew one was stepping off a bit. And you just have to give people, they're going through an emotional piece as well. So the cancer support people have their own journey. As a supporter, and as, again, I'll defer to my husband and some friends, just be there and do what is needed. If a question is asked of you 45 times, answer it 45 times and be patient. I would go to appointments and I would look, when I'm meeting with a doctor, for keywords that would be more treatment. It's positive, you're doing the right. And my mindset was, I just need to see her face. I need to hear a few words, and that will set the tone for everything that I need to know at that meeting. And my husband sat beside me and he took the notes on everything else. So literally when I got out of there, it was like, that was good news, right? So what did she say? What did she say? And you almost have to be a psychologist in both areas. I felt badly sometimes. I thought, he's going to leave me. I've asked this, I know, 150 times, but patience is involved on the other end. As a support person, and it depends on who you're supporting. If we're talking about someone who is in late stages, that's a whole other piece of the puzzle. You have to respect your loved one. You have to see where they are. You have to see how much more can be endured. We never want to lose somebody that we love. We don't. But when you're talking about someone who is going to be transitioning, sometimes the letting go could be the most loving thing that you can do. There's so many aspects to all of this. And just talking about it, you see how support people need their support too. When I'm working with a support person and we're talking about diet, and if they're living together, it's like, well, you eat this too. I mean, you've got to take care of yourself just as much as the person. It's like in the airlines, when the mask comes down, you breathe first and then you help the person that needs help. You have to take care of yourself. There's a healing and there's a health journey that supporters need to go through as well. It's altering. And, it's a lot. It's a lot for somebody who is a supporter, because the person going through cancer can be very reliant on you. So decisions need to be made. Maybe you can't do it all. And as a support person, maybe you also need to realize that you need to put up a cry for help as well. It's a really difficult place, and support for anybody, any disease, I think 1 in 4 people in Canada, there was a commercial on yesterday because they just started a wonderful charity or foundation for supporters. I think 1 in 4 people in Canada, adults, may be supporting someone who's ill. And that impacts not just the mental health, but if you're taking time off of work, and, all of these things need to be considered. And if you're going to radiation every day and it's not close to home, that's every day you're driving somebody. So there are also so many wonderful charities and support places that will, I know here, you just call and for $10, they'll pick you up and take you to the hospital and bring you home. And now this is probably because of COVID. A lot of this is sort of kicked in because we're not allowed to go with people to the hospital. They're doing this on their own. But dig deep and find out some resources. If that's the first thing I could tell support people to do, is look for the resources in your area. You'll be surprised at how many volunteers can help out with driving and all sorts of things. So check your resources. That's a big thing. Now, totally left, the CBD and the marijuana. Certain cancers respond much better to it if you're talking about a medical treatment. It is not my lane, so I can only tell you that much. There are certain cancers that do respond to it. I know that we have seen clinically that if someone is on CBD, marijuana, for an extended period of time, it can impact gut health. So which, if it impacts gut health, it's also going to impact mental health. There's a straight line. And I think more and more studies in Canada, marijuana is legalized. So obviously more and more studies about long-term impact. I think you could probably talk better as to the impact on the body of smoking versus the oil. The pain aspect of it, the trauma aspect of it, the sleeping, that is more of a space where I see it used more often. I'm seeing less and less talk, and maybe because it's legalized here, and again, you can talk to this better, less and less talk of this in a curative medical space versus a supportive space. I'm not sure if that's the truth or not. It's just what I'm seeing. I see people using it now more for pain management, helping them to sleep, as opposed to it was going to cure everything 5 years ago. So that's your baby. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing.
No, you're 100% in the right realm with what you're saying. A lot of the people that I have, I don't want to say patients because they're not patients for me in any way, but like the people that I know that have been using my product for their cancer, it has been for sleeping. It has been for pain management. And it's about, like you said, the smoking. The smoking does affect gut health. And there's people that don't want to smoke and there's people that don't want oils. And that was the whole reason I made my company, because it's individual packets. It's meant to be where when you're feeling any pain, anxiety, or anything, it makes it where you can easily switch and be able to put it in anything. So you could be eating a salad, put this on top, and you just made yourself a CBD salad dressing. So being able to help patients be able to find their best self is where my focus was for people, because there is judgment on top of other things with the smoking and everything. So for me, noted the CBD has been a huge thing, and a lot of my people that I do stuff with have had cancer, and we deal a lot with they ask a lot of questions about pain management and is it going to help with sleep and how can they do this and that with it. It's been a lot of fun and a lot of learning at the same time, because it's such a new thing with the medical research and everything going into it. So they're just starting to open doors and figure it out. So I was just curious because of being in Canada and being legal. In Ohio, it's only medical. So I was like, I had to ask, being in the industry.
It's legal everywhere now. You can get it anywhere. And by prescription, where, before it was legalized, the route to get a medical prescription was quite long, and now it's much more accessible for medical doctors to write a script, so it's easy. Now, the thing, and again, I don't know much about this, but if you look in the scope of anything that comes to market in volume, is quality. I don't know where they're supposed to be. We have certain places that are legalized for this sort of thing. It's not an area that I know about. If people ask me about it, I don't have a source that I go to. I'll say basically because I don't want to impact their care, medical care. And they can ask their oncology team now. This is now talked about. So they can ask their oncology team for some help. And this is not taboo anymore. But I think one of the nice things that have come out of this, I shouldn't say nice things, but one of the things that I always felt was overdone was the curative aspect of it. And I think now, because it is very, very mainstream and maybe not hidden in the corner where only certain people got it and only small claims were made, now it's in mass use, and it's more in line with an integrative approach. I think we go too far with talking curative and one, silver bullet that's going to do it. So now that as I said, now that it's talked about, now that it's mainstream, I think it's fine. It's found its niche.
So I've been thinking during this conversation, please correct me if my philosophy is just out of pure ignorance here. So it very well could be.
It's not ignorance, it's learning. It's learning.
Exactly. So from my understanding now, cancer isn't so much of a death sentence as it used to be, where you had it and then you were definitely going to die from it. Now we do have a lot of research, we do have a lot of things that can help, at the very least, prolong for a very long time the cause of death being the cancer that you have. Because of that, in a sense, then, when you think about it, everybody's going to die. We're all going to die eventually. We just don't know when. For all we know, like, God forbid, I could get in a car crash on the way home. So as long as we are doing these things that you're talking about, like taking care of our gut biome and other biomes that we have, doing things like drinking enough water, exercising, eating well, trying to take care of ourselves, as long as a person is going to their regular treatments like they need to, wouldn't it logically make sense for ourselves and the people around us to sort of live our lives as normal? Like, take HIV, for instance. I know a handful of people who are positive and who have HIV and or AIDS, who are positive for that, but they live everyday regular lives, and they have loved ones who live everyday regular lives along with them. They don't worry about it. They don't have any issues with it, just because of the medical technology that we have now for it. They understand that that will most likely be the way they pass away, but they also understand that it's going to take quite some time before that happens. It could be any day, but there's no actual time limit on it anymore.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you had a question.
I was going to say, buddy, I think we need the question part of it. That was a statement.
I just wasn't sure if there was a segue in there.
I got you, Cathy. I'm looking at her face and I'm listening and I'm like,
I can do this.
Sorry.
I can do this. Don't worry. I got you.
There was a question.
She's got it.
I got you.
There was a question there, but then I
got you.
reburied it by accident. My bad.
And I feel you. Okay, so yes. Wouldn't it be nice if we could manage all the diseases as we do? Wouldn't it be nice if we could manage cancer as we do diabetes, heart disease management? Cancer, unfortunately, is not just one disease. It's many, many different diseases, and it's many diseases within one diagnosis. So nobody, if you look back to the microbiome, this is maybe what we call the footprint of our gut, of our microbiome. We all have our own unique makeup. And because of that, even a breast cancer diagnosis, even a estrogen positive diagnosis is different for every single person. So yes, maintaining health, cultivating our health is important for longevity. Unfortunately, there are still some cancers that are more lethal than others. But you are right. Things are looking up. Technology is looking up. We now have different treatments that are coming into the foray. And I was on another podcast, and they said that new chemotherapy medications, the research into them is greatly declining because we're now moving into this space of immunotherapy and different types of therapy. No doubt. I mean, this is history, right? We can't look back and say chemotherapy was horrible. It has saved lives. It may, as history is going to write about COVID, we may look back and say there was a better way, but we only know that there's a better way when we discover it. And, we go through things as is. The only way, we all are here, we all have a checkout date. You're absolutely right. And we can't live our lives. There is this profound space in our heads sometimes, especially when you've had a disease, to be overthinking your health. And I don't want that either. So if you're right, if you set the pieces in place and educate yourself, and you are doing things that you know what to do, and you're reading the signs and symptoms of your own body, you'll know how to make the adjustments. Okay. You can't tell me that if you haven't slept in 3 nights, you don't feel the impact on your body. And what's the cure? Sleep more.
Sleep.
You understand. I haven't slept that well. My stomach's upset. I can't think straight. Hey, silly stupid, let's sleep some more. So these are things, right? Understand your body, understand the symptoms. There's always going to be something else out there. Right now, we're dealing with a virus. We're never going to be done in this health journey, ever. And there's going to be more health issues coming up when we're all dead and gone. But you want to live your life in knowledge, but you want that knowledge to be in a space where it's just enacted in your life, and then you're living it. It's like going to school, right? You know what 2 and 2 is now because you learned it before. You don't think twice about it. And yes, and you're all responsible for your own health. You can't rely on anybody else. They're tools. Your doctors are your tools. Your researchers, it's your health. Learn about it and live it. And be happy. Live a happy life. Live in joy. Live in gratitude. You get up and you put your feet on the floor every day. That's the first thing in the morning you should give thanks for. And when you live in gratitude, what you have is enough.
Absolutely. Do you think, however, because I do agree with you that disease will always be an issue. Medical issues will always be something as long as people are around. But with technology, with how fast it is exponentially getting better, do you think that eventually while new things are coming, we'll be able to beat them as fast as they are evolving?
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you that. Honestly,
that is probably the best answer you could have given me, in all honesty. Yeah,
I thought we'd be out of COVID last year. We're in our third wave. Yeah. I had no idea. I would have thought this would have been a done deal. And we're pretty, profoundly deep into our studies and our science and computer technology, and we're still not out of a virus. So,
yeah. Absolutely. I think that was the best answer you could have given. But in my mind, I'm thinking about things like the Black Plague and stuff like that, and other huge viruses and diseases that we've had in the past that we have now overcome. And then I'm applying that to things that we have now. And I'm thinking, it's possible that one day people will go to a friend or a family member and say, hey, I have cancer. And that person will respond with, oh, well, that sucks.
Wouldn't that be great?
Nonchalantly.
That's what at the very near the beginning. It's like, it would not be the greatest thing. And that's exactly right. You sit there and you get a diagnosis of diabetes, and it's like, oh, crap. Now what do I have to do? You get a diagnosis right now of cancer. It's like, am I going to die? And wouldn't it be nice if we had that place? Unfortunately, like I said, cancer is just an umbrella for so many different diseases, and the statistics on them vary so greatly. And, the other thing, we're all in different environments. Environmental medicine, environmental toxins are all a piece of what we do. Our stress is what we do. And, we can't harm. Heck, we can't get on one page about how to deal with this virus. So there's never going to be 100% of people believing, doing doing medications. There's just not, we're not going to all ever be on one plate. It's just not going to happen. But wouldn't it be nice? And that's
Do you
just,
think
that's
that
one
we
of
all
my,
need to be on one plate, or do you think just one of us needs to get to it first, though?
I think that we're all in different spaces, and I think that's what makes the pot great, because I don't think that there's ever going to be one way to cure anything, because we're not all the same. And again, if you talk about how medication is metabolized by our microbiome, what works for you may not work for me at all. And we need diversity in opinion. We need different ways to tackle things. It's the squeaky wheel that you hear about all the time that just becomes a muted voice after 15 years, and his logic has come through. We need this. We need this.
I'm having kind of crazy thoughts now. My mind is just running with this idea of progress and everything, and I'm thinking about like another thing that seemed impossible for mankind to get to, that we did not work together in, but we all worked on at the same time, was going to space, going to the moon. That seemed like an impossible thing, and in my mind, it was a competition. And so while we weren't working together in it, we were all working at the same goal. So maybe
It was a competition, though.
It was, yes, but it was the same goal. So we weren't working together, but we were all working on the same thing, and that's why eventually we did make it, because we made it such a huge priority.
Yeah.
And put
Okay,
so much
but you don't have to look that far back in history. We talk right now about this vaccination, and there's never been a more concerted effort worldwide for the same goal, right? To eradicate and to get a vaccine on the plate. How many people are afraid of taking this vaccine? How many people won't get their second shot? So again, you've got this concerted effort. You've got this that's on the table. You're not getting everybody to drink the same Kool-Aid, right? And everybody's opinion of whether or not they want to be vaccinated or not is a personal journey, because it's also very new. But again, this concerted effort to get us all out of this is nothing that we've ever seen in our lifetime. It wasn't a race. I mean, it was a race to get the vaccine, but the research and share of knowledge has been profound in this going on of time. Whether you choose to believe it or not, or you're a conspiracy theorist or not, or you're a vaccinator and anti-vaccinator, this is a profound time in history, and you're living it. So, I mean, again, we'll never, ever, always be on the same page. We just won't be. There's too many opinions and too many ideas.
The progress is still inevitable, though, even with
Right.
the vaccination situation, because there's three options that happen. Either you do get the vaccine and you're fine from the virus, or you don't get the vaccine. When you don't get the vaccine, one of two things happens. You either don't get the virus at all because of the people who are vaccinated, or you do get the virus and survive, or you do get the virus because you weren't vaccinated and you don't survive, and then that is one less person who has, one less person in general, one less person has the virus, and as people continue on, then the people who don't get vaccinated and get the virus end up dying off, unfortunately, and the people who don't get vaccinated and do get the virus but survive have those immunities then, and then the people who get vaccinated don't have to worry about it at all.
Well, that's
Eventually, we adapt regardless. 100 years from
Exactly.
now, we'll have adapted to this, just like we have adapted to many other viruses. You can look at it on a personal level, or you can look at it on a philosophical level. Is this the great forest fire that's taking out what needs to be weeded? I've heard people talk about that. I mean, that's a very cold, harsh way to look at what's going on. All in all, if you've been impacted by COVID, it's hard to look at it that way. We've been profoundly impacted by COVID here. We lost my brother-in-law a couple of months ago, and thank you. But that's taken us on, like, I had one opinion going into this. It's morphed into different opinions. We're in a third wave now, and it, just in my own mind, how differently I've looked at it through the whole piece. But that's progress. I mean, we're going to come through this, and we'll have suffered, and we'll move forward.
Yeah, I think it's very cool cynical to look at it saying that this is what needed to happen.
Exactly.
I do agree with that. That's a holistic way. However, I do think that it is healthy to acknowledge the possibility that this is something that is beneficial for not only the earth, but the human race in general.
Well,
not saying it's what needed to be done, but just that it's possible that there are beneficial things to it.
But see, that's why you have forums like this one, right? Is that you get everybody's opinion and you can talk about it in an intelligent, and everyone has their own opinion, which is neither right or wrong. And only history is going to be able to, and even history may not be written in the way it actually is. So, it depends on who's writing the story. A year ago, we were laughing at you guys because the States was like letting it go wild and we were in quarantine and everything. And now look at us, we're still in quarantine. And most people I talk to in the States are, things are opening up.
We're at a bar right now.
I mean, actually, to make it even more interesting is I was showing Gavin beforehand. This is the first major event in the United States that's happening, that they're bringing people in from all over the world. It's the NFL draft, and they have areas designated to vaccinated and unvaccinated people. And I thought that was very interesting. That's
another interesting thing that's going to happen out of all this. I for sure feel that if I'm ever going to travel again, I will need to get vaccinated.
They make you have the passport. Like, I just flew back from California and they asked me if I had my passport, and I was like, I haven't been vaccinated yet. And it turns always into a conversation, but it was very interesting to see how people were responding at the airport. We're being told the plane's only going to be half full, but it was not. It was packed. People were like on top of each other. And then at the airport, it looked like it was just completely like nothing had been happening and everybody just had masks on. That was the difference. And they were checking for passports. I was at the Oscars last week, and they literally at the Oscars were checking for passports. And if you did not have your passport, you had to get swabbed. And they're doing that here as well. Like, if you're not, like, I have my mask here. Mine's special because it has a spot where I can go like this, and then I can drink my drinks.
Interesting.
And I have a silver straw, so I can actually never have to worry about taking my mask off, which really sucks.
You could be in lockdown and stay at home and never have to use it. I don't know if you've seen, and I was just talking to somebody yesterday, I've seen 3 different instances where one school, I think it was in Florida, and there was one place up in here, and they're not allowing people who are vaccinated into their stores. Have you heard that?
I have not.
That's a weird kind of discrimination.
Well, discrimination is discrimination.
There's something called shedding, and I don't know a lot about it. I try not to, because we're still so marred in it here. I guess you are too, but I've seen those 2 for sure. And there was another one. Was one here in Ontario, and be something interesting for you to look at. It was a Florida school, private school, that was saying that they didn't want people who were vaccinated in.
Well, that's, and that's why I was going to mention when Gavin, you were talking about these 3 different options. There's actually a broad spectrum of things that are going on. And, the fact that you get the vaccine doesn't mean that you don't get the virus. It doesn't mean that you can't shed the virus. In fact, one of the concerns was, if you get the vaccine, you could shed and never know that you had the virus, and yet you're passing it along to other people. And so there's still so much to learn and so much that's going on. But what I think we're also experiencing, just like we're experiencing all this stuff along with Black Lives Matter and that kind of thing, we're going to get this whole discrimination around vaccinated versus not vaccinated. And it's going to be very disconcerting that you're going to end up with just another way to kind of divide people in terms of their beliefs, in terms of their thoughts, in terms of their lives.
Well, here in Canada, as it stands now, the Prime Minister has said he does not want vaccine passports. And again, we are maybe in a different situation than you, and time will tell. We've been in lockdown in Ontario. I mean, our restaurants haven't been open. In Toronto, they haven't been open since November, like not opened at all. So they can do pickup. So imagine the profound loss of revenue and mental health that's going there. So it'll be interesting to see if, would a restaurant turn you away if you weren't vaccinated, or be like, you know what, I don't care who we're serving, because at least we're serving now. It'll be interesting to see how that comes. And of course, we're so far behind in the vaccine campaign. At some point, to me, you're going to have to let the doors open. If everyone has been given the option to be vaccinated and they've made their decision, and again, I'm not falling on either side of the fence, then once that level has been reached, it's only fair that you start opening things up. People have made their choices, whether you're rolling a dice with a vaccine or you're rolling the dice with getting the virus. Once everyone has had that ability to make their choice, so for us here in Canada, it's having, fine, we've got enough vaccines, finally, whoever wants them. And once everyone has been given that opportunity, I think personally, then at that point, you let the doors open. People have made their decision. And you have to live with your decisions.
Wouldn't it be interesting to see the race discrimination in the United States that's happening, that's been in the news and everything? Wouldn't it be funny to see that fade away because of COVID, and it goes for shots versus unshots?
No, I think that there's so much validity in Black Lives Matters and so many different fronts, and we're not talking about. And I don't want to get into this too much. I don't live in the States.
No. I was trying to make it a joke, just a joke on that one, about how they have it too.
There's the police, which is front and foremost, that we see here in Canada about the police. But I host a radio show myself, and I talk. I've talked to people about sustainability of food, the food chain, and racism in the food chain, and racism in the medical system, and those things, almost
Very
like
much.
mental health that weren't talked about. Those things need to be discussed. And so I hope that this doesn't go away, because they need to be discussed.
They do. I agree with you. That was not me trying to say anything bad about anything.
No, not at all. I mean,
the disease, finding a positive of it, it breaks the race war.
That's actually kind of how I felt about I remember abortion was a very hot topic here in the States right before COVID happened. And you had a bunch of people on one side saying, my body, my choice. And then you have people on the other side saying that that's not the case. And then as soon as they said, hey, you all need to wear masks,
everybody was friends.
Everybody flip-flopped. So people saying, my body, my choice, were saying, all right, fine, I'll wear the mask. And the people who were saying that's not the option were saying, oh, well, it's my body, my choice. I don't want to wear a mask.
You know what?
And that was kind of funny to me, just that hypocrisy right there.
So really quick, actually not really quick, we're coming up to the end of the show. This was a phenomenal conversation. That went fast.
It went fast, and it wasn't as down as it started, right? Probably didn't go anywhere that you thought it was going to go.
No, honestly, we kind of take very heavy topics and like to keep them in the light and make sure we have a conversation about pieces that people are afraid to really break into. And I think you brought a great energy for this, and I really want to thank you for coming on, Cathy. What we do at the end of each show, and since Gavin and I are together today, is we usually leave everybody with a positive word of affirmation, and we give each other encouragement and stuff like, what? Gavin's fiance is looking at me all weird, like, what are you going to say, Brandon? So what we'll do is I will go first, and then Gavin will go, Brett will go, and then Cathy, you will go. That way you can go last and take us out. For real, Cathy, thank you again. Guys, fantastic. Today is Thursday. Thank you. Thursday, the April 29th. It is, actually, I don't even know what day. I had to look up that it was Thursday. We have we've had a great week, a lot of great conversations. This is a very heavy topic. I would love to have Cathy back and talk more about, honestly, the gut and the diet. Gavin and I were over here. We had to be on mute because of the speakers, but I would love to have a conversation more about why the diet that we're eating, what we're eating, it plays a huge role, not just for cancer patients, but for people in general, for the gut to the mental health. I think that would be fun. I think it'd be a great conversation. It's been a wonderful show. Everybody know that Jessica Dugas has invited us all to her house for dinner. Phil and her have 47 kids, so don't worry, they have plenty of food for us. So take today, guys, and if you know somebody who's been through a lot mentally through COVID or dealt with cancer themselves, like we had a lot of our viewers say today, do yourself a favor. Send them a quick message that just says, hey, thank you for being you. Because truth be told, that little message could be the encouragement they need for the day. Gavin, you're up, my friend.
I would like to advise people to live life like you have 6 months to live. I know people usually say like the thing is like YOLO, you only live once, or live every day like it's your last day. I think if you truly live a day like it's your last day, you're gonna do some pretty dramatic things.
Yeah.
So don't quite go that far. And I also feel like if you have an entire year to live left, that you're still that you're gonna procrastinate a lot. I feel like 6 months is a healthy amount. So like whatever around the 6 month area is a healthy amount to motivate you to go out and do things that you're uncomfortable with, things that you might be scared to try doing. It's meant to motivate you to go out there and really push yourself, because in all reality, you don't know if one day you'll be diagnosed with cancer. You don't know if one day you'll get in an accident, or if something will happen where your life just ends, or it's going to very shortly. So try to make the most of what you can while you still can without a reason. Don't wait for there to be a reason to have to really start living your life.
Yeah, for me, it kind of goes along with what Gavin is saying, and it's the tree of life. So we want. I think the key is to try to thrive in life as opposed to survive in life, and focus on those things that you can enjoy, bring excitement, bring something to others as well as to yourself, and actually be life. And actually my motto that I go by is live life, love life, and be life. And we'll leave it at that.
Sorry, I'm muted. There we go. Wonderfully said. And then Cathy, take us out.
All right. Know your power. You have power to set yourself up as a thriver and set those pieces in motion. You are stronger than you think. You have the knowledge, and if you're not sure where you're going, get someone to help you. But set yourself up. Don't rely on other people to tell you where your health is at. Know your body, set yourself up, and live life to the fullest because you've put the pieces in place. Give gratitude every day and be thankful for what you have.
Absolutely
Awesome.
Beautifully said. Once again, my name is Gavin Kerr, Brandon Croucher. We have Brett Gordon here and Cathy Biase. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all to everybody who watched, liked, and commented. We'll see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. We'll see you all tomorrow. Take care.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
everybody.